Before we begin, get your bearings. Our latest Patreon video is titled 7 Hard Lessons About Women Most Men Learn Too Late in Life. It exists for men who are tired of pretending confusion is depth. And if you want coaching, the link is in the description and pinned comment. That's where men go when they're done guessing and ready to see patterns for what they are. Now, let me hook you properly. She didn't lose attraction because you mistreated her. She lost emotional intensity because you became useful. And usefulness, when handed over without restraint, is the fastest way to turn desire into access without attachment. Here's the uncomfortable truth men don't want to metabolize. A woman can lose emotional fire for you and still keep you physically close. In fact, she often prefers it that way. Emotional intensity demands effort, uncertainty, risk. Physical access without emotional investment is efficient, clean, low cost. Men call this confusing. Women call it practical. When the emotional charge fades but the physical door stays open, most men misread it as a temporary phase. They think, if I just stay consistent, she'll feel it again. That belief has ruined more dignity than alcohol ever could. What's really happening is simpler and colder. She has recalibrated your role. Early on, emotion is the bait. Later, access is the reward she gives herself. The emotional intensity disappears when she feels she understands you completely, when your reactions become predictable, when your availability becomes guaranteed, when you stop surprising her and start accommodating her. Emotion thrives on volatility and mystery. Once those die, emotion follows. But physical access? That's governed by convenience, familiarity, and leverage. Very different currency. This is where simps expose themselves. They think sex equals closeness. They think presence equals progress. They think being chosen physically means being valued emotionally. It doesn't. Often it means the opposite. It means you've been downgraded from object of desire to reliable resource. Women who are good at this understand the distinction instinctively. I respect that. They know how to separate emotional investment from physical benefit. They know how to keep a man close without letting him inside. Men who can't tell the difference end up doing boyfriend labor for casual privileges and calling it hope. Here's why this happens faster than men expect. Emotional intensity requires tension. Tension requires the possibility of loss. The moment a woman senses that you won't leave, won't withdraw, won't detach, the emotional voltage drops. She doesn't need to feel deeply anymore. You're not going anywhere. Physical access, however, doesn't require tension. It requires comfort, familiarity, a lack of friction. That's easy to maintain, especially when the man is eager, accommodating, and grateful. So she keeps the physical door open and closes the emotional one. Not maliciously, logically. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that perceived partner overavailability reduced romantic desire over time, while maintaining accessibility for instrumental or physical benefits. Translation for men who need it. Blunt. When you're always there emotionally, desire drops, but usefulness remains. This is why she still texts late at night, but avoids deeper conversations. Why she still invites you over, but avoids labels. Why intimacy becomes mechanical instead of charged. The emotion isn't gone because of trauma or stress. It's gone because the dynamic no longer feeds it. And here's the dark joke. Men often accelerate this process themselves. They sense emotional withdrawal and respond by giving more reassurance, more attention, more patience. They try to buy emotion with consistency. All they do is prove they'll accept scraps. Women don't respect men who negotiate desire. They respect men who create conditions. Let's be precise. When emotional intensity fades but physical access remains, she has placed you in a category. You are safe, predictable, low risk. She doesn't fear losing you, so she doesn't feel compelled to feel deeply about you. But she also doesn't see a reason to remove you from her life entirely. You're convenient. Men hate that word. Convenient. It sounds small. That's because it is. The men who complain about being used are usually the ones who volunteered for the role. They offered access to their time, energy, and attention without requiring emotional reciprocity. They stayed after the temperature dropped. They accepted physical closeness as proof of value instead of asking why the emotional fire went out. Women who can do this well are not cruel. They're adaptive. They understand that men often confuse intimacy with exclusivity. They exploit that confusion. Again, I give them credit. It's a clean maneuver. Now, before the comment section fills with outrage, understand this. Not every woman does this consciously, but instinct doesn't need consciousness to operate. Patterns repeat because they work. When a woman loses emotional intensity but maintains physical access, she's optimizing her experience. She's minimizing emotional labor while keeping benefits. Men who allow this dynamic teach her that it's acceptable. Here's where power shifts, and where most men miss their exit. The moment you notice emotional withdrawal, the correct move is not to chase emotion. Emotion cannot be negotiated. It either exists or it doesn't. The only leverage you have is your presence and your investment. And once you give those away, unconditionally, you have none. This is where men who understand restraint separate themselves from men who beg for warmth. They don't confront. They don't plead. They don't accept downgraded terms quietly either. They change their availability. They reintroduce uncertainty. They let the physical access cost something again. Sometimes this reignites emotional intensity. Sometimes it doesn't. Either outcome is information. And here's the part that stings. If she reacts negatively when you pull back, it wasn't affection she valued. It was access. Men with self-respect can live with that truth. Simps can't. They'd rather stay half-chosen than fully absent. Now let's talk about you applying this without turning into a cartoon villain. Your homework is simple and brutal. The next time you sense emotional intensity fading, stop investing at the same level. Not angrily, not theatrically, quietly. Reduce availability. Redirect energy into areas of your life that existed before her. Watch what happens. Pay attention to whether she leans in emotionally when access becomes less guaranteed, or whether she becomes irritated that her convenience has been disrupted. That reaction tells you everything about where you stand. And write this down, because writing forces honesty. Ask yourself whether you're staying because you want her, or because you fear losing access. Those are not the same thing. Toward the end, if this video hits something you've lived through, subscribe. Not because loyalty matters, but because repetition builds pattern recognition. One insight is interesting. Many insights change behavior. And comment this below. Have you ever noticed emotional intensity drop while physical access stayed open? Did you stay, hoping it would return, or did you change the dynamic? Your answer will expose exactly how much leverage you're willing to give away for comfort. Emotional intensity fades when it's no longer required. Physical access remains when it's rewarded. The men who understand this stop confusing proximity with power and stop being surprised when the fire goes out, but the door stays unlocked. Welcome to the dark side of your mind, an armory disguised as advice. Everything here exists to give you clarity sharper than the games being played against you. The reading is where I dissect your situation with precision. What he meant, what he didn't, what you missed. About 1,000 words, plus one follow-up question to tighten the strategy. The case file is the full autopsy, a complete psychological breakdown in writing, plus a private audio message so you hear the parts most people avoid. One follow-up to lock it in. If you want speed, there's the whisper. 400 words. Direct. Unfiltered. No extra dialogue. If you prefer tone and voice, the weight of the message itself, the transmission gives you a private audio response. No follow-up. No hand-holding. And if your situation is messy enough for multiple angles, buy 2 services, and the third is free. Strategy rewards commitment. If you want the truth delivered publicly, without exposing yourself, there's the public whisper. One question, one strategic answer, posted for others to learn from. Short, clean, no follow-up. You already know why you're here. You ask your question, and within 72 hours, you get clarity most people never develop. Emotional discipline, psychological leverage, the ability to stop repeating patterns that drain you. The dark side of your mind isn't here to